How we doing, gents? We working? Good to see you. Okay, gang's all here. You know everyone here. This is the Commissioner of the DEC, Basil Sagos, Charlie Hall, who is a consultant who is working with the MTA, Phil Eng, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the MTA. Ronnie Haycom was going to be here. She is a little bit under the weather. We're going to give you a quick briefing on the operation that you'll be seeing tonight, and then any questions you have, and then we'll take a look at the actual remediation of the tracks, which is what we're going to be talking about. Just to recap, when the issues began in earnest with the MTA, I issued an emergency order. The emergency order gave the state more flexibility to do certain things, and we are actually have a different operating model than we've ever used before. And rather than staying in the governmental silos, we have all the agencies working together and collaborating in a way that we never have before. The quote-unquote summer of hell plan, which was a quote that I used early on when we heard that Penn Station would be closing tracks. Basically, I said this could be a summer of hell for commuters. We put together a plan unlike any plan we had ever put together before. A big part of it was the Long Island Railroad closing at night, moving trains out east, but we had Department of Transportation suspend all construction. We accelerated all the construction on the cashless tolling, so all those lanes were open. We had express buses with DOT express bus lanes. So it was an all-hands-on-deck, multi-agency, multi-jurisdictional effort. That's what we're now doing with the MTA. The Con Ed plan that we discussed last time, I think will turn out to be one of the most significant developments that has happened to the MTA in decades, because that was actually a long-standing issue that had never been resolved. The Con Ed power has fluctuations, deviations. When you're in your home, you see the lights dim. Those power deviations cannot be handled by the MTA equipment. And this has gone on for decades. The MTA equipment senses a power deviation. The MTA equipment shuts off. It's what they call fail-safe. The deviation could be a surge or it could be a drop, but it shuts off. For decades, the discussion was Con Ed said, MTA, it's your problem because it's your equipment. MTA said, no, Con Ed, it's your problem because it's your power deviation. They went like this, and it was that way for 20, 30 years. It was just unresolved. We brought in the Public Service Commission. Public Service Commission is the regulator of Con Ed. And basically, they said to Con Ed, it is your problem because you are causing the deviation. And this is an entity that is not just a home, it's a service used by millions. So PSC actually came in with a remediation plan that Con Ed had to follow. But that issue had gone on for decades. Today is another example where, under the emergency order, the state is using its regulatory power. In this case, Commissioner Sagos and the state DEC is going to be increasing penalties for littering, as you'll see as we go on. The second thing about the emergency plan is we have prioritized the cluster of issues that create the majority of the delays, and we're working our way through them. 63% of the delays, signals, tracks, power, water, or fire. The emergency plan targets about 79% of the major incidents. First, as we discussed, was PSC and Con Ed, because the power issues drive the largest single number of delays. And tonight we're going to be talking about the second largest cluster of delays, which we have a solution for and that we're implementing literally as we speak. And those are issues of signals and track problems, which are caused by standing water on the tracks, which is not as simple as it sounds, but it's the water problem within the subway system. Now, water isn't a new issue. When they designed the subway system, they were aware that it was going to capture water. You're underground. You have 440 miles of underground tunnels. You're going to have water in the system. And the system was designed to handle water. And one of the really fascinating engineering feats of the system is the way it handles water. 40,000 street vents, track drains every 200 to 1,000 feet. So the system was designed to handle water. And you'll see part of the system where the water goes into a grate, it goes through a drain pipe, goes into a sump, the sump goes into pumping stations, and it's pumped actually into the sewer system of the city. You'll see that system as we go through it. On a dry day, the system pumps about 13 million gallons of water per day, okay? So that gives you an idea of how much water comes into the system. And that's the way it was designed. It was designed to handle water. It was not designed to handle trash. And that is the situation that we are facing. The trash that is left in the system clogs the drainage system. When it clogs the drainage system, now you have multiple issues that are created, which is exactly what is happening. Where does the trash come from? It's brought in by the riders. It is littering. You leave a newspaper on a bench, you leave a newspaper on a train, the train goes by, the wind pulls the newspaper. It's water bottles, it's coffee cups, it's food wrappers. It is litter. Each piece in and of itself insignificant. It's a candy wrapper. But when you add up, it's literally tons of trash that are being left in the system. And it is everything that you can imagine that would be left behind. As the water flows through the track beds, it collects the trash, the litter. The litter clogs the drains. The water backs up. And now you have standing water and pools of water that break down literally the track bed and corrode all the electrical connections that are along the track, right? As the water level rises, it can even get to a level where it hits the third track. If it hits the third track, the system has to be turned off, period. The basic combination of water and electricity are a bad mix to begin with. Rail insulators get saturated. The positive power cables become compromised. All of these things wind up causing train delays. When you hear about fire on the tracks, where do you think the fire on the tracks comes from? There's nothing on the track to catch fire. The track fires are caused by the trash and the garbage. That's what's burning on the tracks. Last year, 100,000 delays due to track and signal incidents that were water-related. 100,000 delays. More troubling, it's getting worse, it's not getting better. Last 6 months, incidents directly due to standing water conditions have increased by 56%. To reduce the incidence of flooding and fires in the subway, we're going to undertake 2 initiatives simultaneously. First, a water management and debris removal system, which is part of the emergency plan. It is performing preventative water and trash removal all throughout the system. In the past, they would do remediation literally within the station. But the trash would continue to circle and blow throughout the entire system. Part of the emergency plan is going to clean the entire system from one end to the other, remove all the trash and all the debris, something that hasn't been done in over 100 years. Second, sealing of the leaks. Part of the water is coming through from leaks in the system. Roughly 4,000 leaks have been identified that are going to be sealed, cleaning of street grates, and cleaning of the entire drainage system throughout the system. The amount of trash and debris that comes out of the subway system is literally unbelievable. This has just started. Crews have removed 2.3 million pounds of dirt and trash, 70,000 pounds in a single day. Carroll Street Station in Brooklyn, which is not one of the dirtiest stations. It's unbelievable what they took out of the Carroll Street Station. Those orange bags are all trash bags that were all filled. This is the street that had the trash bags piled up, and that was just one station and one cleaning. We now have 20 crews that are made up of over 300 people. They're doing 8 and 12-hour shifts. We're hiring more people, and we have purchased specialized equipment that will help do just this job. 3 types of new heavy-duty equipment. Number 1 is a heavy-duty drain cleaner, which is basically a high-powered snake that is going through the drainage system, removing all that debris. Second is a vacuum device that literally will vacuum up the debris and clear sumps. And third is for stations that are tighter, a portable vacuum that can go from station to station. We prioritize the areas that are the most dirty and that need to be cleaned and have the standing water and have the flooding and have the corrosion and literally have the rotting of the track ties because they've been sitting in water for so long, and they'll be attacked first. Second initiative is keep it clean. We have to stop the trash and the litter. And we'll go through this exhaustive exercise, which is very, very expensive. But the second part of the plan is you have to stop the litter and stop the trash. It's that simple. Now, littering on the tracks is illegal, and littering has been an increasing problem. There is a direct correlation between littering enforcement and the increase in littering-related delays, okay? So 2012, about 600 littering tickets were issued. 2017, about 62. As the littering enforcement drops, the track fires increase. They are an exact inverse, right? So step 2 is inform the riders of the damages from littering. It's not just a candy wrapper. And enforce the littering laws. Be more aggressive in stopping the littering. So, step one is we're going to increase the fines for littering. New York State DEC will increase the fine for littering within the New York City subway system from $50 to $100. This is an issue of public safety. It's not just a nuisance. Track fires are dangerous, and we're taking it very seriously. The new fines will go into effect in 7 days. Step two, we're going to run a public awareness campaign because I don't think riders actually appreciate how damaging the trash can be to the system and how delays actually can be linked to the water problem, which is actually created by the trash problem, and how it is a significant cause for delays in the entire system. Again, after the power-related issues with Con Ed, this is the second largest cause of delays in the entire system. So we'll run a public service campaign, signage, informing riders of the problem. In sum, we have a full-scale water remediation effort going on, additional personnel, additional equipment, things that have never been done before. Second, we're going to fix the leaks in the system to try to keep the water out of the system. Third, we're going to do a one-time comprehensive unclogging of the drainage system. But then we also have to get the riders to be part of the solution and stop bringing trash and litter into the system. These are the high-impact strategies that can make a major difference and can make a major difference quickly. Charlie Hall is working with the Public Service Commission and Con Ed. We have that scheduled for a 9-month plan. That has been a confounding situation for decades. And with the PSC's assistance, within 9 months, we will have made substantial progress. Second high-impact strategy, water remediation, which stops the electrical problems, which is then related back to the trash. You put those two areas together, you're talking about 63% of the delays and the incidents. So if we tackle these two problems, we'll make a significant difference, and we'll make it quickly. In the midterm, you'll see piloting cars that have seats removed in the cars, and the MTA is going to test that to see how it works. One of the big problems the MTA has, which right now has no resolution, is the volume of riders is way, way up, and the system just was not designed. It is a pure capacity issue. Some trains we can add cars, and we're going to. Some trains you can't add cars because they just don't fit on the platform. What can you do? You can remove seats. So that car can hold more people because it has fewer seats. That is in the process now, and that will be debuted shortly. Again, it's on a pilot basis because there's a downside to not having seats, which is you can't sit. We're going to start with it just at the ends of the cars. The seats would remain in the middle, and we're going to see how that goes. We've shifted to a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week car maintenance operation, which has never been done before, to reduce the number of car breakdowns, and we're accelerating the station modernization. In the next year, you'll see 31 fully modernized stations come online. Long term, what's the ultimate fix? New cars, new signals, period. And that is the long-term solution. To get a new car is 4 or 5 years. To get half a fleet of new cars is billions and billions of dollars. New signals is anybody's guess. 5 years, 7 years, 10 years to put in a new signal system. But that is the ultimate goal. The summer of hell that never became the summer of hell actually proved something. It didn't turn out to be a summer of heaven. There's no longer purgatory, right? So it couldn't even be purgatory. But we averted a disaster. We put together the agencies, we came up with a creative, aggressive plan, and we averted a disaster. Most people will tell you the commute was just about what the commute normally was. And we moved heaven and earth to do that. But it shows that, A, we can move heaven and earth. And when you move heaven and earth, you make a difference. And there's a lesson for the summer of hell. And I think there's a lesson that the MTA learned and the Long Island Railroad learned and the riders learned. And we're bringing that type of approach to this emergency situation. Progress is underway. It is undeniable. On this phase, we need riders to be part of the solution. And we need them to understand how this water and trash issue is not a nuisance, but truly serious. And we need riders to remember that at the end of the day, it's our MTA. We're not going to make it work without the riders' assistance and without the riders' cooperation.